I want to go back now to the border crisis. We've been able to pull in Senator Ted Cruz. I know he's busy on the Hill, Republican from Texas, ranking member of the Senate Commerce Committee, also a member of the Senate Judiciary and Foreign Relations Committees. So I know I don't have you for long. Senator, first of all, when you hear Eric Adams here in New York, the mayor, and other Democrat-led cities leaders saying, oh, they're feeling the pain and we're a sanctuary city, but, what do you say?
You know, it really is astonishing hypocrisy. You've got Eric Adams, you've got the governor of New York, you've got the governor of Massachusetts, you've got the mayor of Washington, D.C., the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of San Francisco. All of them are discovering suddenly the burdens of Joe Biden's open borders and illegal immigration. And they're seeing thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants. And they're discovering that it drives up crime rates, that it drives up it drives up the burdens on the city. It overcrowds the schools. It overcrowds the hospitals. And I got to say, coming from Texas, it's amusing. We've had 7 million illegal immigrants under Joe Biden. And so seeing Eric Adams complain about 100,000 is cute, but he still doesn't bother to put the blame where it belongs. This is a political decision by Joe Biden, by Kamala Harris, and by the way, by Chuck Schumer. If Eric Adams wants to talk to someone, Chuck Schumer lives in New York City. He says, rightly, that illegal immigration is destroying New York City. Well, he can pick up the phone and tell Chuck Schumer to stop fighting for open borders, to stop protecting the Biden administration as they lawlessly open the borders.
Can you talk to me about the focus on the dissolution, if you will, the degradation here in New York, but that focus was never on Texas. You didn't hear Governor Greg Abbott, and I know I've interviewed you and him and others from that beautiful state where I have family. Many times have heard how they are crushed under the weight of illegals coming across the border, but no one ever says it's going to change us to the point where we cease to exist. I mean, is that desperation or is that true coming out of the city's mayor? How bad do you think it will get for them? Because they aren't handling it well.
Look, I think it's both, and I think it is utter hypocrisy at the same time. The order of magnitude is really different. Listen, this was stark last year. You look at a community like Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard has a population between 20 and 30,000 people. And when Governor Ron DeSantis sent 50 illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, they freaked out. They declared an emergency. They called in the National Guard, and they deported them within 24 hours. To put that in comparison, I want you to compare it to another town that is about the same size as Martha's Vineyard. That is Del Rio, Texas. Del Rio, Texas is a town right on the border on the Rio Grande River, has a population of about 30,000 people. I was there in Del Rio when on one single day there were between 10 and 15,000 illegal immigrants in a single day. 50% of the population of Del Rio all gathered under a bridge right there, invading the city. Martha's Vineyard says 50 is an emergency. Eric Adams says in New York City, 100,000 is an emergency. We've got Texas towns where half the population is coming in illegally, and yet the Democrats still refuse to do anything about it. Today, Joe Biden is releasing more illegal immigrants, is enriching more human traffickers, is allowing more and more illegal drugs and fentanyl to flood across the border that is killing Americans across our country.
Senator, I'm glad you're with us. I'm going to get to this now because we just found out about these court documents. That sweetheart deal we know is gone. The court document shows Special Counsel David Weiss now is planning to indict President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, on gun charges by the end of the month. And everybody will recall the original plea agreement to keep Hunter out of jail was rejected by a judge in July. They had to go back to the drawing board with that original plea deal. House Oversight Chairman James Comer expanded his National Archives request. He wants the unredacted versions of already obtained emails, along with all executive calendars created for then Vice President Biden. Let's watch.
So what Joe Biden's always said and the mainstream media has always gone along with is that, well, there was no, why are you investigating Hunter Biden? He wasn't a part of the government. And Joe Biden had a firewall between the government and his son. That's not true. There are emails that went back and forth where Hunter's legal team was telling Joe Biden how to spin the narrative about the corruption he got caught in. there was copies where he was copied about Ukraine foreign policy. And we believe there are many more emails that the National Archives is sitting on.
The White House spokesman, Ian Sands, had something to say. Here's his response. If it's a day that ends in Y, James Comer is lying about President Biden. It's all part of his months-long effort to waste time and taxpayer resources on an evidence-free wild goose chase. Let's go back to Senator Cruz now. Is that what this is, or are the Democrats in a position that they weren't ready to be in?
You know, it really is stunning to see, number one, the White House dissemble and lie from the White House podium. Listen, this latest indictment that is coming on Hunter Biden, it's not a surprise. It's completely expected. And unfortunately, it's part of a pattern. As you know, I do every week a podcast. The podcast is called Verdict with Ted Cruz. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in that podcast, we regularly break through the specific evidence. We walk through the specific evidence of corruption by Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. We walk through what much of the corporate media will not cover. And what I said a year ago on the Verdict podcast is I said if the Biden DOJ goes after Hunter Biden and they bring a gun charge or a drug charge or a tax charge that is limited just to Hunter Biden's own conduct, it's important to understand what that is. The Biden administration wants to give Hunter Biden a slap on the wrist and have him be the scapegoat. And the objective of the Biden Department of Justice is to protect Joe Biden. And Harris, look, the reason we're talking about this, the reason this matters, it's not Hunter. It's not that he's a troubled soul with substance abuse problems. That would not be a matter of public concern. What makes this a matter of public concern is the central allegations against Hunter Biden is that he sold for millions of dollars favors from his father, from Joe Biden, to foreign oligarchs, to Ukrainian oligarchs, to Russian oligarchs, to senior Chinese communist officials, and that Joe Biden solicited and received millions of dollars of bribes in exchange for official government favors and decisions. That is serious corruption, and what DOJ is trying to do here is cover up and protect Joe Biden by making Hunter a scapegoat and giving him a slap on the wrist.
And, Senator, what you just mentioned is what makes it a national security issue.
Exactly.
I'm so glad, again, that you could be with me in focus. Thank you for your time on both those issues.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.